Sitting here with Damien Durandt, much needed catch up. We've been meaning to do this. Finally, we're getting here. We arrived at the day. How's this year gone for you so far?
Hayden, it's getting there. I don't think we're back to 100% yet, but at least things are starting to happen. Boxing's starting to get the wheel turning, so it's good. At least we're starting to see some activity. There's been a couple of tournaments this year already, so things are looking positive. I think promoters are finding their way around the bio bubble and trying to force things to happen, so it's good.
Much of the talk is obviously on international boxing. You got guys going abroad and doing really well. Emmany Kalombo is the next guy that's going to be going to the Eastern Bloc. How do you feel, firstly, about him going there?
Yeah, I'm very excited for Kalombo. It's the big break he's finally needed. You know, we've watched him take care of African level fighters for the last while, and it's just been like the last couple of fights. He's just getting through the motions just because he has to, not because he wants to push himself. Like, he really wants to take it to the next level, and it just, unfortunately, we've just been given opportunities where he's just come up against ordinary fighters. So it's a big opportunity for him. He's fighting in Uzbekistan on DAZN. It's a matchroom promotional bull with the World of Boxing. So we're looking forward to it. Yes, it's a tough test, but it's the kind of fight he needs in his career. He's 30 years old, and it's time to make a name for himself. You know, I have big belief in Kalombo. A lot of people do. People love watching him, so it's going to be a great fight, and I look forward to it.
One of the things that you had to do was get him the same manager as Illunga Makabu. Was that a necessary move?
Yeah, so obviously there was talks about it. You know, Junior's career has prospered very well. He's had some really good fights in the last few years, and I think it was a smart move for him. I think it's opened up doors for him. Like, you see this opportunity now. I think just sometimes it's a little bit difficult when we're stuck in South Africa trying to network and communicate with people when they're based on the other side of the continent. I mean, you got Europe, Americas. It's a lot of international boxing takes place on those waters. So when you're in that scene, it's a little bit easier. So yeah, I think it's been a great move. It's not an unknown team. So, and we've all worked together in the past, and bringing him onto Kalombo's team, Tariq, it's a great move for Kalombo. We know one another, we know what we want to accomplish, and I'm excited about it.
Illunga Makabu's success abroad, has that sort of opened doors for you as well?
Definitely, you know, it's been great exposure for the gym. It's been great for me as a trainer to travel abroad, gain more experience, meet different people, see different environments, and understand the different aspects that take place in Europe, and how people train in Europe, and how the fight scene is. And it's you know, sometimes we get caught up just looking at the South African level and African level, and we don't put enough focus into what else is happening and who else is active in those kind of scenes. So it was nice. It's good exposure. It's brought, I think, a different side to me as a trainer to keep focused and keep things on that kind of track. You know, for me, I don't want to just build fighters at South African or African level. I want to build international contenders and world titleists. You know, that's my goal at the end of the day. And I've produced a WC champion. I'd love to produce a WBA, an IBF, WBO world champion. Those are the kind of things I aspire to do, and hopefully one day make a Ring Magazine world champion. So yeah, those are my goals, and I can't have them if I just want to focus on producing South African champions. I need to think well past that.
I remember years ago when I came to the gym, and we were talking about Emmany Kalombo, still in the early parts of his career, but you always imagine him being at this level and competing, yes, especially against guys like Madrimov, who's, let's face it, he's number one in the WBA. He's a serious opponent. He's a very good Olympian. The fact that it's all panned out like that, so you happy? Yeah,
I'm very happy. I think Emmanuel's in the mature time of his life. As a person, he knows what he wants to accomplish in his life. You know, if it was earlier in his career, I wouldn't think it would be the right fight. For now, I think it's a perfect time. He's 30 years old. He's 14-0, very confident. He's got a lot of self-belief. He wants to mix it at that level. And that, I think, is the most important thing. You know, you can have a fighter, but he's not really keen on mixing it up at international. He just wants to just be there. Kalombo wants to be a superstar. And for me, I believe he could be Africa's next biggest superstar. He's entertaining when he walks to the ring. He's flamboyant. He's got charisma. He talks well. He's an entertainer, and that's what TV looks for in a fighter. And he brings all of those things to a fight, as well as the knockout power. So he's always exciting, and I think this is a big break for him. I think he's going to make a big name for himself after this fight, and everyone's going to know who Emmany Kalombo is after this fight.
Right, so let's switch back to another boxer, Brandon Taser. He's signed with Golden Gloves Promotions. A big move for him. Obviously, his career needed that lift after winning the Super 4. It's a natural progression. What's next for him?
So it's been announced on Golden Gloves' website. They've announced that he's fighting locally here on June 26. He's fighting a guy from Finland. I think he's had 11 fights, 8 wins, 3 losses. It will be a fight. Definitely. I think it's just a little taste for Brandon to have an international opponent, which is nice. Remember when we spoke about after this fight, I wanted to introduce him to the international scene. So this is now the introduction that we're going to be having. It's going to be a great card. Rourke's on the bill as well. It's nice to see Rourke rebuilding his career after the loss to Brandon. So it's nice. It's good for South African boxing, and it's nice to actually see that we're going to have an international fighter come out to our way. Normally we often are travelling out that way, so I'm looking forward to it. And I'm happy. Brandon lost fought in October, so June means he's back in the ring. It's been 8 months, after the preparation for Boyd. 2 preparations, it was extensive, hard preparations, and he needed the time off after October. Rodney had asked me if he wanted to fight in December, and I just said no, let him have a break. He needs a holiday, so he took a holiday, and he means business now.
I know obviously you have the plans mapped out, and you've got to kind of know where you're going to go with Brandon and build him in a certain direction, but not my question, more of a public question. I mean, you know where you stand on this, but the Rourke nap, Brandon Taser things will be asked by the public. Are they going to fight one day? Is that a natural progression towards maybe a world title one day? How do you see that whole? Where's your stance firstly on that?
The fight happened. Brandon showed his worth. He stopped Rourke. Does it really show any value in that fight happening again? Not really on our side. Like there's nothing really to gain for us to fight Rourke. If he does have something later down the line that we would want, yes, possibly. There's so many belts in the division. They don't have to fight each other to obtain one belt. There's many belts, many options, and like you said, we have a map, and we're focused on it. But at the end of the day, all roads lead to Rome. So we know what we want to accomplish, and whoever's in our way is in our way, and we will deal with them when they're in our way. So, yeah.
All right, so he's got to take care of national pride. He's got to take care of business when Finland arrives here in South Africa. On to the next guy. Before I get to Jackson, I just want to talk about Nkosi. He had quite an intense rematch, obviously a long-awaited rematch against Gerald Afini. Did the fight go as you anticipated?
100%. I knew my boy would win. What happened in the first fight shouldn't have happened, but it just put the brakes on the career a bit, realign, refocus, and put things together. Nkosi had a championship preparation for this fight. He holds the record now for the lowest pulse going into a fight.
Which
so
is?
I won't disclose that, but it was quite unreal. I've never had a fighter that fit going to a ring. So he was extremely ready for this fight. He wanted it so bad, and he got what he deserved. All credit to Linus. He stuck it out for the 4 rounds. After 2 rounds, you could see it was definitely not going to go his way, but he stuck it out there. He bit the bullet, and he stayed there for 4 rounds, and well done to him. We competed at junior welter. That's not our division. We will continue to pursue our division at lightweight, and he's got a very bright future, and I won't be surprised if he's South African champion after 8-9 fights.
Does his career kick off from this point?
Definitely. So he's back in action in June. I look forward to that. He'll be having a 6-rounder. I won't announce the opponent now. Obviously that will come out in the future, and that's Golden Gloves' duty to announce it. But we look forward to that fight. And it's time for him to grow his career. He's 24 years old, and like I say, hopefully by the middle of next year he's fighting for the SA title. Even before. He's a very talented kid, extensive amateur background. He's very serious about what he wants to do, and I think he's in a good space in his life and his work environment and his training environment, and I think we're just going to see him grow from strength to strength. I believe that's a future star.
Does he now come on to becoming a Golden Gloves fighter, or not necessarily?
He is. They're very interested in him. They're giving him another opportunity now in June. So I want him to keep performing, and I think he will. I really think he's got the goods after probably 9-10 fights to start competing at international level. Like really, my goal is to try and get him the SA title by 8-9 fights. Let him be South African champion, African champion, and then move him into the international scene after 10 fights. He's travelled when he was an amateur, so he knows what it's all about. He understands the sport of boxing, and he's willing to put in the hard hours. Like I said, we treated a 4-rounder like a championship fight, and it paid.
Right, on to the next one. As I said earlier, Jackson Chauke, the character in the gym, the guy that always gives me really good interviews. He's got Ntwanambi next. On paper, maybe a difficult fight, but not to you guys, it seems.
Yeah, look, every fight is difficult, and I'm sure he's going to come with something. I think it's a big jump in levels. You know, they've both been out the ring equally. Chauke had fought in September in 2019, and Ntwanambi I think was December in 2019. So they've had a fair amount of inactivity between each other. So, and they haven't had any fights after that. So they're coming to the fight with the same amount of layoff time, and I just think, you know, for me, Jackson, like we've always said, is a fine wine. He's just getting better with age, and I think he's really getting to a point in his career where he deserves a world title shot. And we've accomplished it. We took care of winning the SA title. We got a 9th round stoppage. He went and defended the SA title in 1 round, and then we went overseas to fight in Russia on 4 weeks' notice, and I was comfortable. I knew we would win, and we went there and we beat this hot Russian prospect who was the WBC international champion, and we captured that title. So for Jackson, if you're young, it means nothing. And if you're a hot prospect, it means nothing too. He seems to take care of the young ones quite quickly. So I'm comfortable. I'm looking forward to the fight. Don't get me wrong, it's going to be a good fight. But I think it's a little jump too quick for Ntwanambi. He's a good fighter. He is definitely a good little fighter, but he needs time to grow. And unfortunately, the name Pretty Boy, we're going to eliminate the pretty out of him. So, yeah.
Well, one thing that got added to the bill is the WBO global title. So that's a new sanctioning body that he potentially gets into the ratings with. Were you happy with that move?
I am. It's nice to be... Oh, well, Jackson's already rated in the WBO. If I'm not mistaken, I think he's number 10 in the WBO.
Okay.
So he's already higher in the WBO than Ntwanambi. I think Ntwanambi's got a little star there because he's WBO Africa champion. He hasn't entered the ratings. So it's a good fight. We'll get a good rating in the WBO. We've got a rating in the WBC. We've got a rating in the IBO. So we're rated. And yeah, look, it's a nice title. You know, I want him to have a fair amount of silverware at home. And I think that's important because it shows what he accomplished in boxing. Many years ago, people, you know, when he fought for the SA title, he can't step it up, he's not capable. And under me, he hasn't suffered a loss. You know, he's won all of his fights by TKO except the one in Russia. That one went 2 points. And he's defended the SA title. Well, he won it and defended it, and he won the WBC International. So we add another title to it, and the silverware at home is looking pretty good, eh? So I'm happy for him. I just want to get that world title opportunity for him, and then I know I've taken him to the max of his career.
I know obviously you maybe can't disclose future, I want to talk about Illunga Makabu, you can't disclose future plans because, you know, until things are kind of announced, you got to keep your lips sealed. But let's talk about maybe his journey recently, since he became a world champion. How have you assessed his performances, let's put it that way?
Yeah, you know, I think the tougher the fight for Junior, the better he looks. He's just one of those fighters. If you're going to put... Look, we talk about a fight like Kudryashov. Good fighter. Was an outright war. Was an absolute fan favorite kind of fight. TV went mad for the fight. So the better the opposition for Makabu, the better he rises. You know, if you're going to put him in with average guys, he's just going to give you an okay performance because he doesn't feel up for the challenge because they're just ordinary. You know, he wants to be challenged. He wants to be the king of the cruiserweight division. That is his objective. That is his goal. He wants to have all the belts. He wants to be known as the man in the cruiserweight division. And when a man is set like that, you can't give him ordinary fights because it's not what he wants. He wants to be the best, so he wants to fight the best, you know. He wants, you've heard it yourself, Hayden, he wants to fight Braves. He wants to fight Akula. He wants to fight Kulamerian. You know, he wants to be the boss in the cruiserweight division. The rest of the names, you heard it yourself, he's not bothered by them. To him, they're nothing. They're nobody. So that's where he wants to be. He wants to be the king, and when you want to be the king, you'll work very hard for it, and that we appreciate. And like you said, for him, he's just grown from strength to strength to strength. And when his fights come through, you look, Duradala fight, he didn't lose a round against Duradala. He was so comfortable in the fight. I didn't even break a sweat in that fight. We were talking nicely in the corner, you know. It was a relaxed environment. We were in complete control. He could have knocked out Duradala when he wanted to, but he just enjoyed his time in the ring and landed the right shot when he wanted to. So I'm very proud of him. He's had some tough fights in the last 2 years, and he's shown his worth. You know, a lot of people are like, but you know, after the Belu, Makabu's chin, this, that, and then he went in against good Joshua, who's the hardest puncher, and all. Then he stood there, and he delivered. He took what he got, good shook, and he gave it back and knocked him out. And then he went against Pappen, who everyone was like, ooh, Pappen, you know, great kickboxer, 11-0 record, 11 knockouts or 10 knockouts, he's a puncher, this, that. Makabu walked through his punches like he wasn't even throwing shots. You know, Chislak, great fight. Also, knocked out 17 of his 19 opponents. Makabu walked through him, put him down, you know. Took it on points comfortably, 116, 112, you know. And then we went against Duradala, also heavy-handed. Didn't even shake Makabu. Makabu looked at him like, what have you got to deliver? And he just picked off his shots when he wanted to. It was a very comfortable fight. There was no stress going into it. We just did what we needed to do. So, yeah, like I said, you want the best out of Makabu, put him against the best.
Well, I mean, you would have watched the DAZN Collie performance, and they did mention Makabu's name, but they mentioned that they wanted probably to fight Breeders next. But the fact that he's like, his name, obviously he's a world champion, so his name's going to be dropped in that conversation. But the fact that it's up there, do you think that fight against a Collie will be made in the future?
I don't know. You know, they mentioned Makabu's name in not this fight, the previous fight, when the first Glovaki fight got cancelled because Glovaki had COVID. So they announced, no, you know, Eddie and Glovaki were like, no, we want Makabu, and then we want this one, and then we want Braiders, and we're like, okay, cool. We sit back, we observe, we see what it's all about, and then he won the WBO. And after the WBO, there was no talks about Makabu. It was only about Braiders. So, all credit to him, he won the world title, he did it very well, but there was a Glovaki that hadn't fought since Braiders. He got knocked out, it was an ugly fight, he hadn't fought for over 2 years. And then you've got a Collie who's active and in the gym and working, and yeah. But you must also remember, the WBC had ordered Makabu and Glovaki to fight, and the Glovaki for the vacant world title, and Glovaki turned it down. So what does that say to you? He took the Collie fight, he didn't take the Makabu fight. He wanted the WBO. So does Glovaki ever want to fight Makabu? Maybe not. So, yeah, interesting. Will the fight happen? I don't know. You know, sometimes we talk about unifications like it's easy to make. It's not easy to make. You know, there's many things that step in the way, mandatory positions, guys get the opportunities for voluntaries, and unifications aren't the easiest fight to make. Is it possible? Yes, definitely. But there's a possibility it could be Glomerian. There's a possibility it could be Braiders. We've got many options for unifications, and we still got to fulfill our obligations with the WBC. So, yeah, there's many different roads, but all roads lead to Rome, like I say.
In saying that, would you say that Makabu is the number one cruiserweight in the world?
Yeah, you know, when you hold the WBC, you're the king. We've always said whenever we talk about boxing, we always say, if you own the WBC, you're the boss of the division. You know, you look at the credibility of the WBC world champions. We talk about all the big names, hey. You talk about Tyson Fury heavyweight, Makabu at cruiserweight, Bivol at light heavy, and then you've got super middleweight. You've got Canelo Alvarez. You know, middleweight is Charlo. Then the other Charlo, and I can go down the list. We're going to talk about Errol Spence. We're going to talk about Teofimo Lopez, Ramirez. We're going to talk about all these big dogs, huh? So when you start saying, no, but Braiders is the king, and then this one, no, Colley's now the big star, and this and that. No, boss. When you own that green and gold, you're the boss. That's it. When you've unified, and you've got the Ring magazine, and you've unified the vision, then you're the big, big boss. Right now, when Braiders fought Rotikos was just for the IBF title, you know, and Gulamarian is the WBA world champion, and Okoli's the WBO champion. So no one's out of unification, so no one can say they're the big boss. But out of all the belts, we're the boss.
So I'm guessing they're going to be calling you out as opposed to the opposite way around. So you'll do the business once you get in there. Damien, is anyone I've forgotten that you want to bring up?
Yeah, look, I'm just happy to see boxing starting to take place again. I'm excited to see what the future is. I think there's a lot of young upcoming talent coming up in South African boxing. Just they mustn't rush guys too quickly, you know. Guys need time to find themselves. You know, our amateur scene is not as strong as the amateur scenes overseas, and sometimes we get carried away, you know. Sometimes we think these boys are already at 6-7 fights to fight international stars and be in big positions, and it's not that case. But you could powder coat them for 2, you know, you could what's the right word I'm looking for? Cotton wool them, that's it. Cotton wool them for too long. And then when it's time to step up, it's too late. So you've got to find a good balance, and I think the future's there. We've got great fighters from Eastern Cape and Johannesburg up and coming. So youngsters are looking good. You know, it was I think a big surprise that John Papape beat Bulldog. I think everyone was surprised. So now Ricky's loss doesn't look too bad. You know, he lost to John Papape, but he went through a lot in his life. So I'm sure Ricky will be back next year. You know, he's taking off another year. He's got a newborn at home, so he's just nervous with COVID. So he's got that. And yeah, let's see what the road presents. We've got a new junior welterweight champion. We've still got Marcus Lebocho at number 2. There could be that SA title fight coming up in the future. You know, Dumezweni's still there. You know, there's still fights people want to see Dumezweni in. They want to see Dumezweni Buthelezi. They want to see Dumezweni and Sakibo. You know, you can't say, oh no, Sakibo's past Dumezweni's level, because Sakibo never fought no Martinez, that's for sure, and he's never fought at that elite level either. So, you know, Sakibo's had good international opposition, but nothing that's ever been in the ring that we've gone, wow, that guy can fight. So let's see. There's exciting fights in South African boxing. I think I've got good fighters to make up good local matches and international matchups. So the future is bright, but I want to focus on bringing Nkosi through the ranks, getting Shabalala back on track. I want to get Lebocho another SA title shot. Those are important things. I want Jackson Chauke to fight for a world title. I want Kalombo to fight for a world title. I want Makabu to unify the division. You know, those are things I'm looking forward to. So Dumezweni needs to get back onto the scene. I want to see him back in action soon. Yeah, so these things are happening, and it's nice to be talking about these things, because these things can happen. We could be sitting in a position where COVID could have hurt us even more, and we could have been like, what can we talk about? You know, we sat last year and we were trying to think of things to talk about, and now we've actually got things that just, the opportunity's there to talk about. You know, Rumble Africa's got a good show coming, Golden Gloves have got a good show, there's Natal that's been active, you know, so things are happening. It's nice to see, you know. I think Gaba Promotions is busy with a couple of things. So, yeah, boxing's exciting. It feels like we're back. We're not 100% back, but we're 80% there.
Well, guys, that's the thoughts of Damien Durandt. Thank you for sitting and obviously talking to us. All the right headaches, by the way. So fights are coming through. Let's hope all that goes well for you.
Thank you.